When someone experiences trauma, this very often leads to a disconnection with themselves. It's like we separate the head from the body. And this will really affect what kind of nervous system activation we are in when we're moving through our days, when we're thinking our thoughts. And this directly affects our choices, like the choices you make, as well as the behavior you have in your everyday life. And also your thinking, the quality of your thinking.
Hi, Camilla here. Before we dive into the podcast, just a quick note to personally invite you to come and check out my free training on how to finally end weight loss struggles, binge and emotional eating, and feeling like a failure once and for all. Over the years, my work has grown into a world-changing riot where we reframe how we see ourselves as a failure for trying to play the game of the diet culture. It's time to break free from being the good girl, the weight loss struggles, binge and emotional eating, impossible aesthetic ideals, negative body image, self-sabotaging patterns, never feeling good enough, and often feeling like a failure. It's time to create a new paradigm where we enjoy a diet-free, binge-free, stress-free, slower, and more intentional and joyful way of life while you feel good about yourself and your body along the way.
This is so true. I think that anyone that has struggles with food, body, and challenges with eating should have Camilla's program on prescription.
You know, after the first evening listening to Camilla's lectures, I understood why I was always failing my diets. It completely shocked me how accurately she could describe everything that I had been struggling with.
Check out the free training at camillasage.com. Now, let's go into the diet riot.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about the unspoken diet trauma. And this is actually something very many are affected by without even knowing. And it can actually also explain a lot of the resistance and a lot of the hardship very many women struggle with after years of trying to create permanent change, losing weight, optimizing their health and eating, and so on. So it can be that if you feel you struggle with this and you are here listening to this podcast to find answers and solutions to how not only break free from these things, but also reaching your goals, it can be that this is actually a big part of the problem that keeps you stuck. So let's start from the beginning. Do you ever feel like it's just so hard to start another diet? Maybe you've been trying many times to quote unquote get your shit together and go hard on it and tap into this all or nothing mentality of now I'm only going to do this and I'm going to be so hard and I'm going to really push through and I'm not going to eat a piece of chocolate until I get there. June 33, 2025. Let's say that is the energy you've been in when you've tapped into this push to get going. It can just be that from all the times you have done this, tapped into that energy, and also then found yourself a couple of weeks down the road in feeling like a failure because you've fallen off the wagon. It can be that these experiences has actually created some kind of trauma response in your brain that you're not able to catch yourself in. And this is why you also don't understand why you avoid dealing with these issues so much. Because you know how badly you want to lose weight, right? You know it. However, for some reason, it just feels so hard. Like, it's so hard for you to actually gather the momentum and start doing what you know you quote unquote should be doing. However, you're still stuck in the same rut. And these things take up so much mental space, so much capacity. It's in your head most of the day, either in the front of your mind or like in the back of your head to some kind of extent. And it's taking up a lot of mental capacity. And if this is you, if you recognize yourself in any of the things I've just said, it might just be that you are actually living with the diet trauma. So to understand the diet trauma, we need to talk about what leads someone into the experience of trauma and what consequences this will get in someone's life when it comes to food and dieting and weight loss. So, first things first, when someone experiences trauma, this very often leads to a disconnection with themselves. It's like we separate the head from the body. And this will really affect what kind of nervous system activation we are in when we're moving through our days, when we're thinking our thoughts. And this directly affects our choices, like the choices you make, as well as the behavior you have in your everyday life. And also your thinking, the quality of your thinking. And of course, all of these things really affect your emotions. And very many women struggle a lot with losing weight, and they might have a history of feeling like a failure. This is the one area in their life where they just can't seem to get their shit together. And they walk through life not only judging themselves all the time and shaming themselves and like doing self-loathing and all the things, but they are also constantly worried about other people shaming them. So, of course, this leads to a very heavy negative mental and emotional load that they carry inside of them because they struggle with things. And this also adds to the internal dialogue of like, I know I should be doing this. Why won't I do it? And it's many different quotes I hear in my work weekly, daily, that is about these patterns. I know I should have handled this better is one of them. Oh, I'm still stuck here. Why can't I solve my food issues and just lose this weight? I should have been done losing weight by now. Why can't I do it? I feel like a broken record. New Year, same old story about me wanting to lose weight again. Or I'll just skip the party this weekend. People can't see me how I look right now. Or I need to hurry to bed before my husband so he thinks that I'm sleeping because I can't stand the thought of undressing in front of him or even just him trying to approach me in bed. So these are very common things that women share in the conversations with me. But just because they are common doesn't mean that this is normal or should be normal. And this is really sad because it's really affecting someone's quality of life and how we experience life, because life happens in the body. And when we are at war with our bodies through our whole life, we are never at peace. But the thing is, no one can hate themselves thin. No one will win the game by hating themselves into losing weight. Yeah, you might lose weight, but the issues of the eating and the shaming and the lack of quality of life and all the negative emotions, they follow along. So it's actually some women also approaching me after they have lost the weight and they are keeping it on from either starving themselves from time to time if they've had a binge or just working out like a maniac, almost punishing themselves if they have eaten something they think they shouldn't have. So they are keeping the weight off, but for what cost? It's not quality of life. It's not like doing it because you love it. It's a prison. It's a prison that's in our brain. And I normally say it's the only prison we have where the locks are on the inside. So when someone has lived decades with shaming their body, using extreme and fad diets, exercise, etc., to lose weight, and it doesn't even have to be that someone has turned to the diet industry to use a diet. It can be that they have just like very often been thinking this all or nothing mentality. I am not going to eat anything unhealthy now until I get there. So that alone can be a trigger for creating these patterns and these issues, where we try to control external things to force our body to change shape, weight, etc. And sometimes we or women tend to tap into compensating mechanisms and patterns and strategies to make up for yesterday's binge, but that is actually a way of punishing themselves. So all of these leads to a disconnection between the mind and the body, because when someone is using a diet, an external approach to tell if they are good or bad, on track or not, they will instantly lose connection to their own body's signals. So if they all of a sudden have a lot of excessive hunger, they literally think they shouldn't eat something. Their body is wrong. They need to not eat and stick to the numbers to actually succeed. So they don't trust that the body knows what it needs because they are fixated on a number someone on the outside have told them. So that is the first problem. The second one is through this disconnection, we very often struggle with separating emotional cravings with physical cravings, as well as just knowing if we're actually hungry or not, or feeling full after a meal. These signals can be so hard to tap into for someone who's been dieting and been on the wagon, off the wagon with food and eating their whole life. And with this, all of this mess, the messy middle here, we lose trust in our bodies, and that will instantly also affect how we treat it, and it will lead us into the lane where we are not taking care of it, and we aren't listening, and we aren't doing what's best for the body. So it's actually counterproductive when it comes to health. Another problem with this is when we are disconnecting the body in this way, we end up using so much more time in our own head thinking about our body and how it looks wrong. So we are constantly body checking and being critic, and we're thinking about food and thinking about exercising and all the things. And that is literally taking us outside of ourselves. We are projected either back into the past, analyzing and judging things, or we are projecting our focus into the future of how to do things, or when I get there, XYZ. So the point is that we remove ourselves from the present moment. So we aren't experiencing life here and now. We aren't available to experience all the beauty, all the magic, all the pleasure, all the joy that's actually available for us here and now, because this whole thing here is taking us either into the past or into the future and out of the present moment. But life happens here and now, in this moment, and in this moment, and in this moment. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, not 1 hour ago, not 4 years down the road. Here and now is all we have. So the diet trauma is an unspoken trauma very many women live with after years of shaming their own body and thinking they need to change shape and lose weight to be worthy, either in their own eyes of how they think they should look, or in comparison to the social ideals, like ideals of a body image in media, or also like just from feedback from friends, family, partners, etc., where we feel we need to look a certain way to be worthy of love and belonging. So to understand this on a deeper level, you need to know that trauma isn't limited to something big and very significant happening in someone's life, like an accident or physical harm, etc. It can also be much, much smaller and much more subtle events happening that is triggering a trauma response, because trauma isn't the event itself. It's the way our body and our nervous system is responding to that event after the event. That is actually trauma. It's the response in the nervous system and in our body. The thing is that you can also simplify this even more and say that trauma is situations where we thought things were going to go one certain way and then they didn't. So we feel loss of control. So when we are trying to turn to the diet and fitness industry, or just like all or nothing mentality around food, first of all, it's not the whole solution. It doesn't work good for our health and our body, playing along the needs of the body and supporting it all the way. And it doesn't include the psychological components of actually losing weight. When this is a factor, we end up in these patterns of the diet cycle where we eventually lose control and turn to food. And this alone, because when we turn to food and we lose control, we shame ourselves after. So our body and our nervous system and our brain are experiencing emotional pain after the loss of control. So obviously, this can actually trigger a trauma response in our body. And over time, our brain will really do everything it can for us to not go into emotional pain. And this is why it can be so hard to return to diets and try starting again, because your brain has started to connect emotional pain to the process or when you fail. And if you have a history of quote unquote always failing, the 23 other times you've tried to count calories to lose weight, that is the history that is stored in the hard drive. And this will actually affect you a lot in how you're able to move forward. So all of this together with how someone will shame themselves, how their relationship with their body is, can really create a trauma response where we tap into this pattern. Either we are in flight, where we are running away from everything that has to do with diet and eating, etc. And we're just like, whatever, I'm not going to think about it. And then we are there where we are like, off the wagon, quote unquote, out of control. Everything is allowed. It's a bad day, bad week, bad month, etc. So we're just going to eat because I'm going to start again on Monday, you know? And then at some point we reach threshold. So we actually turn into fight, which is also a trauma response. We have fight, flight, or freeze. And when we are in fight, we have reached the threshold of emotional pain where we feel trapped in a corner and we need to deal with things. We need to deal with the issue. And then we turn back to the diet industry to find a new solution and start again. So this is literally what is happening with like the on the wagon, off the wagon pattern. That is like we are in control and trying to be good. However, we're kind of trying to run away from the emotional pain we've felt when we were off the wagon. However, we are also so afraid of failing again that we maybe don't believe that we actually can make it. And our brain is waiting for the point where we fail because that is all our previous experiences. And as soon as we sense a sign of failure again, we throw the baby out with bathwater and we say, oh, it was a bad day anyway. I might as well just eat whatever I want and start again tomorrow. And here you have the messiness of these patterns. So it's a lot of things happening here in the psychology of us and in our subconscious brain when we are stuck in these patterns. And this with when we feel like we're losing control only to like end up in this emotional shitstorm of negative emotions. This exact thing is what can trigger the patterns of running from fear and being in flight or fight. So this is the exact thing that really can trigger trauma responses and how you show up in life and how your patterns are and how you move forward. And of course, this will also very often leave you in an emotional landscape of feeling helpless, feeling out of control, disconnecting to your body, having a really low self-worth and self-esteem because you don't believe in yourself, etc. So if any of this resonated with you today, I want you to know that none of this is your fault and it's nothing wrong with you. Your body and your nervous system is actually doing exactly what it's designed to do, and that is trying to keep you safe and ensuring your survival. So I want you to try to acknowledge that even though you might have some diet trauma or some of these patterns keeping you stuck, that doesn't mean you have to give up your goals and that you will never make it. And it's not that like we have to give up on our goals to solve these things. It's not that we have to just accept that this is just how life is and I can't have both the results and the body and the health and all the things I want and also deal with these things. It's not either or. It is a solution that includes both ends, but we need to have a bridge. And that is the bridge between the different things. And that is the mental aspects of these things. Because every single person out there, we are allowed to have wishes and goals where we feel energized and self-confident and having vitality and freedom and living from a place of being comfortable in our bodies. So it's essential that we know this, that you don't have to choose between focusing on your dieting and weight loss or your health. It's not either or. You can have both at the same time when you move forward in the right way with the whole solution. But we need to include the psychological component. And sometimes Obviously, that is a very different way of moving forward than what you've tried in the past. So we need to break away from the incomplete and toxic methods of the diet culture. That's step number one, because the solution here isn't a quick fix or like a snap out of it kind of approach. I've worked with so many women over the years, helping them to heal their diet trauma. And this is very deep work and combines, to get to a whole solution, we have to combine different elements of healing, of coaching, of guidance, of ongoing support, of self-compassion, and having a gentle and loving integration phase. But also sometimes we need to be clear, these are the action steps, and now it's time to move forward. And when someone is working with the whole solution, including the psychology in this, and also taking into consideration their history and also approaching it from that place, then we can really come to a point where we can release and unlearn the binge and emotional eating behavior. We can release the toxic learnings and patterns you've gotten from the diet industry about food, dieting, thoughts about yourself and your body from all the years of struggling with this. And when that happens, when we reach that point, your body is actually more able to release unwanted weight because it's not fueled in negative emotions, which are triggering your nervous system and also increasing your stress levels and your stress hormone, which will be the handbrake on regarding fat burning and losing weight. So when we release all of these different things and get rid of the self-shaming and guilt, etc., things get lighter and happier, and making healthy choices become a lot more natural and easy because it's a positive process where we feel reward every time we are taking care of ourselves. So I encourage you, after what you have learned today, I want to encourage you to do one thing. And that is be brave and choose yourself. Because you deserve to live a life with vitality, energy, a body and a life you love, free to live like you want, free to be in your body and experience life the way you want it to be, free from the pressure and the struggle and all the bullshit that has been stored in your brain after years of struggling and hustling with the diet culture. I am your biggest fan and supporter, and until next time, I have only one more thing left to say. I celebrate you for being here, and I believe so much in you. So keep on, go on, continue on your journey, listen to this podcast, and if you want to have a conversation with me, or if you just want to, touch base, send me an email. It's always me in the other end. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening today. I'm so grateful for you being here. If you'd like to explore more into these topics, then please hit subscribe. And if you love this podcast, leaving a review or a 5-star rating really helps other women finding it too. And if you know anyone that would benefit greatly from listening to this podcast, then please share it with them. You can find more information about ways to work with me and my free training in the show notes. Thanks for listening to The Diet Riot.